Hello. How are we doing? I'm Keith. I am the meditation teacher here on this channel, Meditation Breaks. And on this channel, we learn all about meditation, how to do it, how it may benefit us in our kind of day-to-day life. Here we look at a lot of different kind of practical applications of meditation because life is busy, right? And adding another routine into our life is something that's often daunting to us. And so one of my goals here is to kind of introduce meditation in a way where we can get creative about how we implement it into our life. Right? So that's a long-winded way of saying each week we have a topic that we cover. And if you're like, hey, I've never meditated before, I don't know anything about meditation. In fact, I accidentally clicked on this live stream. I don't know why I'm here. Don't worry, because every class I always start with an introduction to what meditation is. How does it work? Should I bother with this? Which, it's one of the most important questions, right? There's a lot of things that we can do with our day and our life, and we have to determine what is beneficial for us. So we're going to talk about all of that. Hey, Rosa. And the kind of first thing that comes to mind when anyone, whether or not you've been meditating for a long time or never, when we think about that word meditation, there is an image that kind of presides in our mind, and that is the image of somebody sitting down, cross-legged. Their eyes are closed. Maybe their hands are like that or something. This is how we kind of it's like a generic image of what meditation is. Generic image is anytime you think of something. If I was like, think of an apple, your mind is bringing to mind an image, right? Shwanda, thanks for subscribing. That's really cool. Appreciate that. Your mind brings to mind an image of an apple. It's very quick. We don't even notice it, but we all have like a generic image of things. And interestingly enough, our generic image of meditation is often very similar between people, because if you Google meditation, that's what comes up. Endless images of that. And so it is very common to think, okay, well, hey, Antonio, this is how you meditate. This is a seating position. Sitting down with your eyes closed and your hands in some sort of orientation is a seating position. And while it's often associated with meditation, meditation is not a seating position, at least in my opinion. It is not a requirement for you to orient your body in this way. And that's great news, because as we get older, something interesting happens. Sitting on the floor becomes more difficult, and getting up even more difficult still. And so if that was a requirement to meditate, well, we'd be kind of out of luck. I'd be out of luck. I'm not even that old. So if that image of someone sitting down with their legs crossed and arms like this is not the essence of meditation, then what is? What is the definition of meditation? So here on this channel, I like to think of meditation as a technique that you can use to become really familiar with something, which I know is not a really helpful definition, because the concept of familiarizing our mind with stuff is not something we go around saying that often, right? We're not like, I'm going to familiarize my mind with how to, I don't know, do conditional formatting in Excel. Can you tell what I did today? But that's what's happening when we do it. Everything that we do in our day, in our life, every moment, our mind is making connections. It's becoming more familiar with things. Oh, when I do this, this happens. Oh, that didn't work, right? Like all of this, all of the things that we interact with are based in familiarity. And no matter what you're familiar with, the output of being familiar with something is the same, right? So whether we're talking about something like learning to walk or learning a new language or whatnot, the output of being familiar with something is the same. And that output is that the more familiar you are with a thing, feeling, situation, whatever, activity, the easier it kind of becomes. Or like the more like naturally it comes to you, like second nature kind of thing. It takes less concentration, it takes less effort because you're familiar with it, right? I often use tying my shoe because that's a really weird one, but we're like the best shoe tiers of all time, right? Wasn't always that way when you were a kid. You had no idea what you were doing. And now look at us. Oh, incredible. We can tie our shoes without blinking twice. I don't know. Earth Day. Glad it's not required. It's on the floor. Yeah, me too. My back hurts. Okay, so what we're after is kind of honing in on what we want to be familiar with, because our mind, as we can see just by thinking of any example of something that we do or have done, our mind is very familiar with familiarity, but it's not so familiar with taking suggestions on what to be familiar with. And those suggestions from us, the arbiter of mind, it often feels that we are not deciding what to be familiar with. You know, I got into meditation for like clinical anxiety. I did not say, you know what, I'm going to be anxious about itching, which is something I'm anxious about. It just, my mind became really familiar with that thing. And now my mind goes there very easily, right? And so everything that we do follows this cadence. And so if we take something like relaxing, being peaceful or calm, it's a very common entry point into meditation. We may think meditation relaxes us. You know? Meditation equals relaxation, but this is not the case. Meditation actually doesn't relax you at all. Don't leave. Don't leave. Meditation teaches you to become so familiar with relaxed you, that version of yourself that is relaxed, that what happens, just like learning to tie your shoe, learning a new language, learning to walk or drive or anything, it starts to show up more regularly. It starts to become your default. You can dedicate less energy towards it being a prominent part of your day. And that's really cool because it means very plainly that we can decide what type of person we want to be, what type of mindsets are at the forefront of our thought. And that's really cool. And that's the beauty of meditation. It is a really great way of becoming, of training in familiarity. It's not the only way. It's just a really good one. Yeah. Cool. So that's why we're meditating. And you can already see that that definition is way more like, it's like a much wider definition, to the point where pretty much anything you're interested in changing, learning, etc., meditation can be a part of that. But how do we do it? whenever we start learning meditation. Almost always we start with something, a timeless tradition called breathing meditation. You probably have heard of it. It's everywhere, which is very cool. Breathing meditation is a meditation, wait for it, where the focal point is your breath. That's it. That's all breathing meditation is. Every meditation, no matter what type or style or whatever, there is a focal point. It's sometimes called the object of your meditation. And in breathing meditation, the object of your meditation is your breath. And the goal is to focus so exclusively on the object of your meditation that something really interesting happens. All the other thoughts that are trying to pull your mind. Oh, come over here. Come over here. Hey, remember this? You're really familiar with thinking about work. Let's do that. Right? All those thoughts start to fade into the background the more single-pointedly focused we are on the object of our meditation. It's something that takes practice. Because not because like some people are really good at it and others are not. In fact, you're all really good at it, right? Yeah. Those I know. I think the same thing too. This is new. We don't go around being like, "Hey, I'm going to focus on one thing and one thing only." And whenever I notice that my attention is kind of drifting a bit, I'm going to just acknowledge that gently. Like, we don't do this. And so we don't have a lot of practice doing this. And so anything we don't have a lot of practice doing is new and is not familiar to us, and thus may not always come naturally, right? But it is a practice just like anything else. It's the exact same thing as learning to walk, tie your shoe. You can do this. You have everything you need to do this. In fact, great news, each one of us has had many meditative experiences before. Have you ever been like in the zone at work? I'll use my little Excel example again. Like I'm making like a chart and stuff. This is me. I'm doing this. You can't really see it on camera, but I'm doing that. That's me on a computer. And what happens when you're like really plugged into a project? And so you lose track of time. You forget to eat. Maybe like your office mate is chews really loudly, and you're always like, ah. But then you don't notice that's even happening when you're really focused on something. This is a meditative-like experience. We are so focused on something that other things seem to disappear. They're not gone. The person's chewing is still there, but it's just muted, right? And with that mutedness, we can focus on the object of our meditation, our focal point, with a level of clarity that we normally wouldn't. And maybe we'll glean some interesting takeaways from that. So breathing meditation is all that where we're using our breath as the thing we focus on. You can use anything. It can be brushing your teeth, walking, going like this with your glasses. I don't know why you'd want to do that. I think I got a little dizzy from that. Don't do that. It doesn't matter. The only thing that is required for something to be meditation is step one. You are intentionally choosing to focus on this thing. And that's a word we're going to talk a lot about today. You're intentionally choosing to focus on something. You're noticing when you no longer are exclusively focused on it, and then you're bringing your attention back to it. That's it. Those 3 steps are the practice of meditation. And what we're doing, again, is trying to teach our mind the benefits of focusing on one thing. Because our mind knows the benefits of focusing on a lot of things. And honestly, there is a lot of benefit. It's great for getting stuff done. bunch of worldly tasks we got to do. We're all really good multitaskers just by kind of default. And so this is our opportunity to kind of show our mind, hey, great with the multitasking. Check this out. This also has benefits. All right? Okay, so let's do some breathing meditation together. Like I said, it's 3 steps. Step 1 is we're going to intentionally choose to focus single pointedly on our breath. All that means is saying to yourself a little something like, for the next couple of minutes, I'm going to focus on my breath, and that's it. Even if you don't believe it. You're like, I thought that when I first started meditating an eternity ago, I was like, that doesn't seem necessary. But it actually is really important, right? Because the main goal here is that we're trying to teach our mind we can do this when we want to, need to, like to, etc. So we're setting an intention, and then we're going to do just that. We're going to focus single pointedly on our own breath. I'll be guiding the meditation. And then at any point, if you notice that your mind is kind of split in time, maybe it's like, oh, yeah, what am I going to eat later? Like, oh, what was that sound? That's a weird sound. If any of those things happened and any sort of area in between them, we can just say not right now to those thoughts. That's our little saying here, not right now. Those thoughts are not bad. They are not intrusive. They're not unwanted. They're not distractions. They're not any of those things. They're just thoughts. Just not now. And then the third step is that we take our attention and bring it back to our breath. That's it. Not right now. Hold up. And we can have some fun with it. That's one of the really important parts of meditation is like it doesn't have to feel so heavy, right? It can be lighthearted. Okay, we're going to do some breathing meditation. I'm in a chair. I would say it's like a 6 out of 10 comfortable, which maybe I need to get into a chair. I don't know. That's not that great. You too can be in a chair. You can lay down. You can sit on the floor if you're into that. You got a hammock? That's where I'd be. It doesn't matter. Just get relatively comfortable, and you can go ahead and close your eyes. This helps with a lot of our tendency for like visual distractions. And I'm going to guide us through a 5-6 minute breathing meditation. Okay. Whenever you start a meditation, take a moment and check in with yourself. Actually ask, how am I feeling right now? What is my mind up to in this exact moment? Maybe you're feeling excited. Maybe you're feeling a little down. Maybe you're feeling tired. You had a long day. Maybe you're feeling energized. Whatever you're feeling in this moment is perfect. We're not trying to change anything. We're just practicing noticing. Taking an interest in what our mind is up to. This is a skill called mindfulness, and it's something we're going to talk about a lot today. Take a moment, check in. Having done that, you can now set an intention, a little promise to yourself, a wish. And that promise, that wish, that intention is for you to focus single pointedly, exclusively on your own breath to the best of your ability for the next couple of minutes. Let that idea, that thought, sit in your mind. This is your only task right now. All other things can wait. For the next few moments, it's just you and your breath. With that intention firmly in our mind, we can act on it. Turn your full, undivided attention to your own breath, breathing in, breathing out, very gently and very naturally. You do not need to alter the way you breathe here. You don't need to take big, deep inhales or forcefully exhale air. Just breathe however you normally would. In and out. Gently, naturally. At some point, often rather quickly, you may catch your mind drifting. It's starting to revert to that thing it knows so well, multitasking, thinking about multiple things. Maybe you're thinking about something that you have to do later after this class is over. Or maybe something that happened earlier today. Whenever you notice that your mind is drifting in this manner, we can just say, not right now, to those thoughts. We'll get to them later. Actually, imagine yourself picking up those thoughts and placing them beside you. And with those thoughts placed beside you, waiting patiently, you can turn your full attention back to breathing in and breathing out gently, naturally. Single pointedly focused on each moment of each breath. We don't normally think of our breath in moments. It's something that is just kind of going on in the background. And yet, this thing that we do all the time, so rarely do we ever just exclusively breathe. What happens if we do? What happens if every time you breathe in, you imagine you're watching that air being pulled from the atmosphere gently into your body? Can you watch that air as it moves through you, entering your lungs, your shoulders rising, your chest expanding to make room, You feel the energy that a single breath provides. That's breathing in. How wonderful. What about when you breathe outward? Can you follow the air as it makes its journey? Can you feel your chest contract? Your shoulders fall. Can you watch that air move back through your body, exiting? Watch it as it starts to mix back in with all the other pockets of air. Such a brief moment between you and that pocket of air, and yet so important and so much wonder. That's breathing out. Whenever you exclusively focus on something with the intention of doing so, these little subtleties will pop up. Subtle joys, subtle fascinations. How cool that you're able to find some subtle joy, interest, fascination with something like your breath that you've been doing your whole life. If you can do that with your breath, where else might some subtle joys be hiding? Breathing in, breathing out, gently, naturally. Keep bringing your attention back to your breath as many times as you need to. This process of choosing to focus single pointedly on your breath, noticing when your attention drifts, guiding your attention back, that is meditation. You are meditating right now. You're training your mind to focus on what you want to focus on. And right now, the only thing that you want to focus on is breathing in and out very gently and very naturally. For the last few moments, just enjoy sitting here breathing. And take a little time for yourself. Okay. Whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. Welcome back. You did it. Y'all are meditators. Probably one of two things happened. One, you're like, well, that wasn't so bad. Two, you're like, whoa, what's going on with my mind? It's like all over the place. And I'm like, hey, mind focus. And that mind's like, nah, I don't think so. Right? Welcome to how our minds work. Your mind, my mind, all of our minds. They do what they are familiar with. And up until this point, presumably, your mind has had an exceptional amount of practice parsing information as fast as possible. Right. Oh, thinking about this. Oh, I got to do this for work. Oh, my stomach's growling, like all these things. Your mind has had much less practice focusing on one thing and then recognizing when it's no longer doing so. And so when people start meditating, almost it's so common for people to be like, well, my mind is like really busy, and so I guess this is not for me. Oh, well, guess I'll go find something else. And that is not the case. Each one of us is equally as adept, skilled at meditation. It is not a skill issue. It is just a familiarization issue. And so over time, doing even, simple breathing meditation, this will become more familiar to you. And as a result, what happens? It takes less concentration to do this. You settle in faster. You start to relax quicker, right? All the things we were talking about before with regards to the output of familiarity applies to meditation. Cool. So, great job. We're now going to move on to our topic for today, which, as I definitely spoiled in the meditation itself, is going to be about a little something called mindfulness, which you may have heard of. But we're going to look at it from a special way, the special lens. Because when we think about the word mindfulness, often the thing that comes up is awareness, which is a really good word for it. But there is a couple of key components in there that separate a practice in mindfulness from just kind of like general awareness. Right? And so we're going to look at that a little bit. So, what is a typical day like for your mind? We never think about this, like myself included. But our mind has a really brutal day. First of all, our mind does not get vacation, ever. Even on vacation, it's not on vacation. Like, there's no days off, there's no PTO. Your mind is just working, right? From the moment you wake up, your mind immediately goes to work, right? What time is it? It's one of the first things we probably think of when we get up. Am I late? At least you're getting a glimpse into my life. What time is it? Right? And then our mind's like, okay, well, the sun's up. That's good. Let me check my phone. Like, these thoughts are happening. They're not just like coming out of nowhere, right? Our mind is thinking them. And we're like, oh, what's that weird smell? Like, oh, my neck hurts. Did I sleep on it wrong? Did I do an activity yesterday? Like, all of these things are your mind practicing what I will call, it's kind of like automated awareness. And the word automated is not a good one. Probably shouldn't use it, because it's a bit of a misnomer. Automated makes it seem like it's automatically happened. And while it feels like it's automatically happening, your mind does what it's familiar with. And your mind was not familiar with thinking about what time it was when you woke up, when you were, just born. You had no idea what time it was. You didn't even, was time a thing? I don't know. Um, but over the course of your life, your mind has become so familiar with monitoring this level of awareness, like the different considerations of a day, that it does feel automatic. Where are these thoughts coming from? It doesn't seem like we have much of a choice, right? We wake up and we're like, what time it is? We aren't like, we wake up and be like, I know what I'd like to do now. Yep. I'd like to check what time like it's just happening. It's just so fast, right? It's so instinctual to us. But these thoughts come from somewhere. They come from repetition, from familiarity, right? And for the most part, for most of your mind's awareness, it doesn't feel like we are choosing what it is aware of, which is really beneficial for certain reasons. Like if we had to like make, there's a lot of things that happen each day. We're walking down the streets, 6,000 things are happening, and our mind is handling them all. That's great. I would be a little overwhelmed. But this means that we don't have a lot of practice choosing what our mind is aware of. And choosing what our mind is aware of for a very specific reason. And this is what I was hinting to, not so subtly, with mindfulness, right? Does mindfulness equal awareness? The definition that I use for mindfulness is like an awareness of your thoughts for the very specific purpose of being able to respond skillfully to them. And that's the key, right? It is a level of intention, right? I am going to watch for if I'm starting to feel anxious, right? You're intentionally setting out to monitor. Whereas our mind doesn't need us to do that for like, do I need a jacket today? It happens so fast. Like I'll go outside, it's cold. Yeah, you need a jacket. So this all is to say that our kind of skill set in deciding what we want to use our mindfulness for is actually the thing we're training in, not having mindfulness. Like you have it, you're aware of things, but choosing, meditation is a lot about choice, which is cool, and interesting, because a lot of times we think it's like, letting go, and like, in a way, but it's also about choosing to do so, right? So our mind can keep us apprised of things. Great. But these aren't generally intentional examples of mindfulness. We don't go to bed and be like, I'm going to wake up and check what time it is. We just do it. And so when we think about mindfulness, the analogy that I like to use is to think of it as a smoke alarm. You got one of those in your house? I think you're supposed to. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to. Smoke alarms. What happens when they go off? It's an extremely piercing sound. It's getting your attention. It's not troubleshooting the issue. It's not even telling you that there is an issue. What it is doing is saying, hey, something's going on. Check it out, maybe. Would you like to check it out? And then that's up to you if you'd like to check it out. Usually we do when our smoke alarm goes off. But the smoke alarm is not remedying the situation. And we may go and be like, oh, no, it's the, I don't know, the oven. So my turkey. Right? It doesn't necessarily mean fire. It's not like if smoke alarm, then fire. Right? The smoke alarm is there to prompt you, to give you information so you can decide what to do with that information. And that is exactly what mindfulness is. Purposefully monitoring so that way you can respond skillfully. However that response goes, whatever you decide to do, mindfulness is the act of noticing and making that choice, right? And it's really critical to meditation. It's honestly really critical to everything that we do, because if we don't notice something, well, it's really hard to do anything about it. Hence why smoke alarms are so helpful and required in your house. So I want to do another breathing meditation. And this time, it's going to be pretty similar to what we just did. But this time, we're going to go in there with the knowledge of what mindfulness is. And we are going to make that our intention. Intentional awareness. That's what we're after in this, 5-minute breathing meditation. Cool? Okay. So go ahead and close your eyes, and I'll guide us through another little breathing meditation. What's your mind up to right now? It's not a comparison to before. Before is done. I can't find it. Just now. What's your mind up to? And having checked in, we can set an intention. This time our intention is expanded a bit. It's twofold. One, we're going to focus single-pointedly, exclusively, on our own breath, to the best of our ability, for a few minutes. But this time, we're going to do so with having our little smoke alarm monitoring. We're going to do so with intentional awareness. Intentionally aware of what our mind is thinking about so that we can respond skillfully when we notice that our mind is drifting. And then we can decide what to do with that information. That is your task for the next few moments. That's it. Everything else can wait. With that intention set, you can once again begin breathing in and out gently, naturally. And periodically check in with yourself. Check in with your smoke alarm, your internal notification device. If you notice that your mind is drifting a bit, this is your mindfulness activating. You are recognizing that you may or may not be thinking about multiple things other than your breath. This is the information that your mindfulness gives you. What will you do with it? And in this practice, the thing we're doing with it is saying not right now to those other thoughts and then going back to focusing exclusively on breathing in and out gently, naturally. And just check in with yourself again. Activate your smoke alarm. Anything to check out? Anything to notice? If so, what will you do with that information? Mindfulness is intentional awareness. For the purpose of being able to respond skillfully with clarity to anything your mind is up to. Breathing in, breathing out, gently, naturally. For the last few moments here, just continue to breathe and allow your mindfulness to keep you apprised of where your thoughts are. Okay. Whenever you are ready, you can open your eyes. Welcome back again. You've now meditated twice. Way to go. Tracy, thank you. Appreciate that. I'm glad you connected with it. Mindfulness is really important. And it can be confused as to like what the heck it means because it's, the word is kind of been co-opted in a way into like go with the flow or like whatever. But like it's more of like an active thing. It's not very passive. And the good news is that whenever you meditate, naturally you are also practicing mindfulness. A little 2 for 1. But you can practice this outside of formal meditation. Something that I did was set an alarm on my phone. It's a little little harsh, I guess, but we gotta force ourselves at first because we're not used to this. I put a little alarm on my phone, and it would go off, and then I would be like, "There's my little mindfulness alarm. What's my mind up to?" And then I would notice, and then I'd go back to doing whatever, right? And over time, what happened? I started doing it without the alarm. So that's a good little way to foray into training in mindfulness, if that's something you're interested in. Georgina, thank you. Thank you, Rosa. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Patricia, thank you so much. And Sean, I'm really glad you enjoyed this. Meditation is sometimes like pitched as something like kind of like mystical. It's not. It's thinking. You're already doing it, but it's purposeful thinking. It's really thinking with mindfulness in a way. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it. If you too enjoyed today's events, come on back next week. We will be doing another meditation together on Wednesday, same time and whatnot. Thank you to Shawanda who subscribed during the live stream. If you also did and I missed it, thank you. Anyone who chooses to do so later or has done before, it is very helpful to me in terms of like getting people I don't understand what an algorithm is nor how it works, but people see it more, I guess, which is like what I care about, people given the opportunity to try these things. Right. If you are like, whoa, I am really into this. Cool. I do private one-on-one meditation instruction, which is really good for focusing on something that is of particular interest to you, like what you want to get out of meditation. We're all here for different reasons. So maybe it's anxiety for you, was for me. If that is of interest to you, right? Email me and we'll find a time to get together. It's I do it all virtually over Zoom and whatnot. It's pretty laid back. Here's my email. Keith at meditationbreaks.com. Keith at meditationbreaks. Meditation. Spelling. There you go. This literally the thing I'm most nervous about every live stream is if I mistype that. I've only done it once. I've only done so once. But it's stuck with me. That's my email. Email me if you're interested in getting together for one-on-one, or if you just have a question or you want to say hi or whatever. There's my email. You have it. And a big thank you to everyone who took time out of their day today to be here. I love teaching, and I really get so much joy out of this. And all of you are such a big part of that, and it makes me really grateful for you dedicating an hour of your very busy day to me, little old Keith. Have a wonderful evening, day, whatever, and I'll see you next time. Take care.